Christian McBride here. It is my honor to serve as jazz advisor for NJ I've been doing this with the NJ family since 2012. But out of all of the hats that I wear, the biggest hat that I wear is that of a bass player. I'm a bass player all through and through, no matter what I do in my career. And as you'll see behind me, I have a pretty big record collection here, and it's safe to say that the two gentlemen that I'm going to be speaking with are probably on three-quarters of the albums behind me. If you could randomly go and just pick any, in fact, I might try that. Hold on a second. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay. Came up Snake Eyes. It's Thelonious Monk. But if I went back there again, I know I would pick out something with Mr. Chuck Rainey or Bernard Purdie on it, because you all have listened to them, you have danced to them, you have been brought a lot of joy by these two great gentlemen. And it is my great honor to introduce to you one of the greatest bass players who've ever lived, the great Chuck Rainey, and the funkiest drummer on the planet, the one and only Mr. Bernard Purdie. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen.
No problem. It's my pleasure. It's always great to see you. Give me a lot of kudos. I'm going to tell you something. I started playing the bass because of the tuba and the upright. And all through my life, you are one of my top favorite people that I know as a friend and as a bass player. You are a great bass player, and I admire what I've heard and I watched you play. Now, there's a long story behind that, but it's my pleasure to talk to you. You're great.
Man, that's you made my year. Thank you, sir. It's thank you for bringing us such great joy and inspiration through the years. And we all feel the same way about you, sir. And Mr. Purdie, I don't know how you do it, man. You still just you make everybody dance. As soon as you pick up the sticks, people just start moving. You ain't even touched the drums yet, and people start moving.
Well, I'm thankful that it's a good feeling to have and know what you have and the people that you're working with. And I did have that opportunity to do that with you, with James Brown, too.
Yes.
Yes. Woo-hoo. Yeah. It was definitely my honor at that particular time.
Oh, my goodness.
I didn't know that you also played the Fender. Also, but with that, I mean, the upright and the Fender, hey, very few people have mastered that. Very few.
You guys gonna make me cry, man. Well, I want to get this party started by I'd like to ask you both the same question. But I'd like to start with you, Mr. Rainey. If you could tell us where you were born and raised and how you started playing the bass.
Wow, that's a long story, but I'll make it real short. I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, but I was raised up in Youngstown, Ohio. So I claim Youngstown as where I'm from, by way of Cleveland. I was born into a musical family. Everybody on my father's side played something. And of course, it was a church, a family church situation. So I came up Pentecostal, listening to a lot of music that way. Also, too, in Youngstown, I played viola as a child. I played piano lessons. I'm not a piano player, nor a viola player, but I did play those instruments. And then I started playing the trumpet and ended up playing the baritone horn in college.
Wow.
So after college, I played the guitar. So from the guitar, that's when I picked up the bass. But my whole background has been in organized ensemble playing, especially in the drum corps and marching bands. And of course, listen to the beat of that heavy Pentecostal feel, where things are very fast but so moving. Also, things are so slow and so sensual. You know, so my background, I would say, started in the Pentecostal church and feeling music.
Yeah. Wow. What about you, Mr. Purdie?
Well, I'm kind of close to what Chuck had done. Well, for me, he was my teacher. I was 3 years old, heard him from the next block, and for 7 to 8, 10 years almost, I was at his house every day from 4 to 6 hours a day, listening to him play the drums, teach, the whole works. I also had him in school, even when I was in, as you say, junior. But he allowed me to play with the band, even though I wasn't supposed to, um, because you're supposed to be in at least the seventh grade. But I was playing in the band behind the second and the third grade because of he was teaching me music, reading, writing, doing everything that had to be done. And it was a real treat for me because I thought that I was something else to be able to play with the big bands. And I was playing every Friday and Saturday, taking my teacher to wherever he would go to play. I'd be with him, setting up the drums, setting up the other equipment, you name it, and I did it. It didn't
Yeah.
matter. So being around music all this time, and that was a 14-piece orchestra. So I had to always do it. And for me, every Friday, Saturday night, they played, they performed locally. And of course, at that time, you didn't go about maybe 40 or 50 miles away. But they gave me the chance and the opportunity, and everybody in that band, I was the baby. And they made sure that you can say what you want, prove it,
Right.
prove it.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do anything except play, just whatever he did and however he played. So Mr. Haber was for me phenomenal,
And,
absolutely phenomenal.
and this was in Elkton, Maryland.
In Elkton, Maryland, the
Yeah.
big city.
And
Big city.
Where's Elton?
that's like right across the is that right across the Delaware border?
Right on the Delaware border.
Right.
The first town that you hit is Elkton. And that's where people used to come for almost about 100 years to get married.
That's where my grandparents got married.
Oh my heavens.
Yep.
That was the place because it was absolutely wonderful. And
Yeah.
then I also, by the time I was 6, I used to be at the turnoff off of Route 40.
Yeah.
And I'd see somebody with an out of state plate, and I'd run to their car with my bicycle and say, "Can I take you to the preacher? Can I take you to the preacher? He'll give me $2. He'll give me $2. Can I take you to the preacher?" I was just happy. And half the time, more than half the time, they let me do it. And
Wow.
then they said, "Boy, don't you could have got killed running out." I said, "Well, how do you know we're going to the preacher? You got out of state tax. You got out of state tax." So when you come into Elton, that's what they come there to get married.
Wow.
Yeah,
Dig that. You were quite an enterprising young man already, huh? Making that side hustle money.
that's it. You had to. You had to because that was the way it was.
Right.
You wanted to do something, stay focused.
Yeah.
Stay focused and do it.
Yeah.
That's what I did. So I had 10 years with him, and I stayed focused. No
Wow.
problem.
Sure, you sure did. Mr. Rainey, I want to ask you. So you played viola, piano. You said baritone horn and
Yeah.
trumpet and guitar.
Yeah.
and then you played the electric bass. So when did you start getting your first professional experience playing the electric bass?
I would think, of course, there were a lot of Youngstown and Cleveland gigs with local bands that I was in, but I joined Big J McNeely in Cleveland, and I was in his band, and I think that that was probably my first where we had uniforms,
Right,
and also too, we were we rehearsed because if you know anything about Big J, he was a honker.
right.
He would play one song for 20 minutes. So I would think that that was my first professional start in that I toured outside of Cleveland and Youngstown, and I wore a uniform.
Wow.
First one.
Um, did you happen to know any of the Womack family in Cleveland back then?
No, back then, no.
Okay.
We know about Bobby Womack, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but I didn't know any of them back then.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So,
Mr. Purdie, when did you get your first professional experience?
I got my first one when I was 12 years old. I had my band, and it was called Bernard Purdie and the Angels.
In the Angels.
So yeah, that was my first. I actually got paid. I got paid, and that was it. I mean, I was hook, line, and sinker for everything. That $12 was the best $12 of my entire life. I'll never forget it. And happy, I was dancing. When I finished, I had to take the money and give it to my grandfather, but didn't matter. I got paid.
Yeah,
I actually got paid. And from there, it was just all uphill.
right, right.
Everything. No matter what I wanted to do, I could do it. That's how I felt.
Yeah, yeah. You two have been one of the most celebrated, one of the greatest, one of the most formidable rhythm sections in the history of American music. I like to ask both of you, do you remember the first time you two played together?
well, I think it was at the Grand Ballroom uh, up in
Mhm.
Harlem, one of those ballrooms where
Yeah.
Bernard and I did see each other frequently on on pickup gigs. I don't know, Bernard. What do you think? I think it was the Grand Ballroom.
Yes, it was. It was a grand ballroom, but it was also, surprisingly enough, Smalls. Smalls became the one that afterwards. But the grand ballroom is where we actually started doing things together constantly. I mean, one led to the other, to the other, to the other. But it was definitely Small's Paradise with King Curtis.
Woo!
Now that was after though, because when I was working with Curtis, I had a long time played with you. Long time. Matter of fact, I remember those green drums you had, or there were multiple colored drums. Green, the tone was green. But that was once I joined King Curtis, I've been in New York at least 4 years. But when I first got to New York,
Mhm.
that's when I first ran into you, playing the Grand Ballroom.
Yes, and I agree because you were at the grand ballroom often, very often. So yes, I'm sure that you're right. It's grand
And,
ball.
and Chris, I'll tell you something. If I were a drummer, I play just like him.
You
I
dig
would
it.
play just like
And
him because there's
you
a
know,
lot of things that he does within the grooves that he plays. They may not be audible, but they're felt.
Right.
I do the same thing, and I don't blow a horn that way. But there's always I'm thinking of everything. I'm a rhythm player, more or less, and
Yeah.
so is he. And I hear that drum corps thing happening, and that sanctified
Right.
beat beats, that are right in the music, but they're not forceful. But if I were a drummer, I play just like him.
Yeah.
and me, if I had to play the bass, it would be very hard not to think in terms of both of you. But
No, no.
no. It's a fact. It's a fact because for me, I had to play. Everybody was upright, and I didn't get to the Fender Rhodes until 1960,
Mm,
61. But upright is what we had to play. They
right.
had to play that. And boy, did I have a learned lesson to see somebody your caliber of being able to do just that. Either way, it didn't matter how you played it, the feel was there, positive attitude,
And
and
it
a
was
smile on your face.
and
Huh?
it was very musical.
And very musical.
Very
Super
musical.
musical. Always. Yeah.
Man, I like to ask you also that the studio scene in New York when you guys came along. I mean, it seemed like you guys were making like 5 or 6 records a day.
Uh,
Just about
basically only four.
Okay.
Only four. They wouldn't allow us. Every once in a while, we end up with five, but four would be the maximum. Because,
Wow.
yeah, the union got in the way.
The union got in the way. I always thought the union actually helped it, but it was the reverse, huh?
Not for five. They would not allow you to do five recording sessions in a day. And of course, that didn't stop us from doing the demos.
There you go. You could do as many demos as you wanted to, right?
and
Many as we
sometimes you
wanted.
get paid like it was a regular session.
Really?
You can get
Yeah.
you can get around that, although you shouldn't. But you can get around union, the cabaret card, all that kind of stuff. I
Right.
appreciate very much what you said about what you wrote about the cabaret card. A lot of people do not really know that that went down.
Right.
That's right.
Cabaret card. So I enjoyed reading what you wrote about that.
Hmm.
But
Thank you.
there's a way to do everything
Right.
Yeah.
and
Right.
not get in trouble.
So how did you get your foot in the door of the New York studios at that time? Did cats just start calling you for sessions, or did you have to join the union to start doing sessions? Or
Well, I came out of King Curtis's band. So in order to be in his band, you had to be in the union.
oh, is that right?
He played all union gigs, a whole lot. Plus, he was a union man. And also, too, when you're in King Curtis's band, it means that you have experience, else you wouldn't be in that band. And before I got in his band, I was on the road with a lot of top 40 R&B acts. I had that kind of experience. And then King Curtis, once I left King Curtis, because people were asking me to do demos. And of course, you trust the Eric Gale that came out of King Curtis. You trust like Cornell the Dupree, the George
Right.
Lucas. And so I got to start getting more demo calls because I was in his band. Plus, when I was in New York, and Bernard can attest to this, rather than play on the stoop by myself, I would go into a club and ask to sit in. Music was my life. I played, so people knew I could play. I probably was not as well a bass player as I became. I think I am a good bass player. But I did play as much as I can in New York City.
Yeah.
I knew every club, all the musicians, all of them. I came through Bobby Durham, Bernard,
Hmm.
and Ray Lucas.
Same. Both of them.
You
They
know,
both came.
and then by the time I got to Bernard, I was ready.
I tell you, everything you just said is 100% right because it took me almost 3 years before people would actually call me for regular date. And that was a big, big thing because by then I had already had three or four different hit records.
Wow.
Yeah. And the biggest one I had, uh, Just One Look, Doris Troy.
Right.
That one went across the board. That was something for me because it was a demo.
Is that right?
The reason that it got put out is that they said, well, what is this boy doing? What's this kid doing? They had big bands. They had other bands that tried to do it. None of them. None of them.
Ah,
It didn't work. The feel and the flow did not work, and that's why they put the record out.
so they had to use the demo
They used the
wow,
demo.
that's something. Wow.
Yeah. So I had a few of those demos that did that. Also, a few others, and it was nice. It was just wonderful. And finally, I got the shot for the big boys. Yeah,
Yeah.
in the studio. But he's 100% right about you had to do that. And the cabaret card was the most important thing at that time, especially in New York.
Wow.
You couldn't work in a club. You
Yeah.
could not work in a club without a cabaret card. And I
Hey,
got mine
That's-
because of the union.
yeah.
Bernard, like you're going back to what we were talking about when it comes to recording. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of producers and arrangers are not good. They don't know what they're doing. But
Chuck,
all of us got to start somewhere. And when you start making a record, the groove and the time is more important. See,
mhm,
back in the day that we're talking now, they had to cut tape.
Right.
They had to cut it with a razor blade. And
mhm,
if the tempo was not steady, it would end up being people are not dancing because you want that R&B thing, that country and R&B, their first cousins, they had people dancing. And in the recording studio, you got a lot of drummers that cannot keep an internal time because they're not listening to the other players, especially the bass player. Now I'm talking because we're two bass players. Sometimes it's the guitar player. Then you
Right.
have a lot of drummers that cannot play to a click track
Right.
right?
when they come up with a click track. So sooner or later, the people that are getting success with those singles that we were making back, we were turning out at least 4 or 5 singles for radio a week because it won't take us long. The
Yeah,
smart people don't labor over a groove. Once you got it, you got it. And
yeah.
those end up graduating up to the corporate office, excuse me, where they trust them to sell a record.
Right.
Thank you.
Because the promotion man has to sell that record to a radio station, to
Right.
to the person playing it. And when it comes to, well, I notice people like Gary Chester, Bernard Purdie, um, Steve Gadd. Once somebody sets the tempo, it's set.
Yeah.
It's set. It doesn't move anywhere. That's a good drummer or a good bass player. Now there's sometimes, and like I'm gonna shout out here right quick over Bernard's head here. Bernard Purdie is the kind of drummer that I'll say it this way, and I mean it this way. If he sets the groove, it's going to always work.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Always work. However, sometimes he wants a groove that somebody else don't want.
Mm.
The whole thing about it is, I find him to be him and I, we are great friends. Don't get me wrong. Now we've gone through our little it's and business, but he's never wrong.
Right. Right.
We're wrong. It works, and a lot of producers and arrangers they sort of appreciate this because they don't know second from come here about what's going on. So I kind of think with the Gary Chesters, the Bernard Purdy's, and Steve Gadds as drummers in New York, and specifically I'm talking about, once the groove is set, it doesn't raise, doesn't go anywhere. And if it does, it goes unknowingly to the person who thinks it should be over here. Because once you do it and it's right, a lot of people just throw their hat in and say, wow, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
One thing I admire about him, he'll tell you, he'll get in your way. He'll tell you that's too slow or it's too fast, and it does rub other people wrong sometimes. Man is always right. That's all I do.
Well,
He's always right.
I got into more trouble. I really did. My biggest problem was I didn't know diplomacy. I really didn't. When you're right, you're right. You know, and for me, as long as Chuck went with me, I had no problems.
Right.
I argue to the deepest end. And because of it, it always got me into trouble because some of the arrangers would get so mad because it just didn't flow.
Right.
So here are these people, everybody's spending a whole lot of money, but nobody would speak up because when the arranger says something and does something, you gotta do it. But that's when I had to learn the hard way. Okay, you give it to them, let them hear it the way they want, the way they wrote it, and I can almost guarantee that it ain't gonna work. So
That's
what
right.
happens?
That's right. And
What?
the difference between him and me, Chris, is that I learned this from Eric Gale. If you have an input and you know it ain't gonna work, get paid it ain't gonna work. Most of the time. But with Bernard, if it ain't gonna work, he's gonna tell you.
Yeah, yeah.
Some kind of way he's gonna say it or feel it, or you can see by the way he's acting on the drums. You got different Geminis here. I'm sort of quiet. And this one right here is going to jump all over you.
Well, see, now I'm curious. Give me. Can you guys think of an example where that happened and the song turned out to be a big hit? I mean, I'm sure it happened a bunch of times.
Well, we might as well put it out there as it is. And one of them, maybe five of them, maybe 10 of them, still dead. Okay? Steely Dan didn't, I mean, don't get us wrong. We did what was done, what we had to do, and it was done.
Yeah.
I find out when I get on the date, Chuck had already recorded this with 3 or 4 different other bands. I didn't know that. He didn't
Right.
tell me that. And I said, what happened? What am I doing here? What? He said, well, you're the last of making this happen because they're not happy with it. They're not happy with it. It's got to be a reason.
Yeah.
So one of the one of the ones, as they said, yeah, that kind of put, you know, 7 figures in their pocket. You're dealing with um,
Home at last.
yeah, Homer last.
Home at Last, by the way, is one of the best. It's one of my favorite songs I've ever been involved in.
Man,
That groove was impeccable.
woo.
Well, that to me, because when I listened to what they wanted to play and show me, I was in the control room and they were playing, and I said, "Ooh, yeah." Okay, I started smiling and grinning and this, that, and the other. And they said, you got it? You got it? I said, yeah, I got it. I got what it takes. I know exactly what needed to be done. And they said, well, what is that? I said, the Purdie Shuffle. Oh, no, we don't want to shuffle. We don't want to eat on with it. I said, but you haven't heard it. You got to listen to it first before you can say it's wrong. And as soon as I hit the first note, Chuck was there. He locked me in, and the Purdie Shuffle became history for everybody around the world. It had already been done.
I was
In
about to
fact,
say because you done that a bunch before, Home at last.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
But this was it. It was amazing. It was
Yeah.
absolutely amazing because Chuck was grinning from ear to ear because I didn't have to tell him what he needs to play. He heard it
Right.
immediately. There.
That is an excellent subject because the bridge to Home at Last sounds the drummers that they had used before, they were making it too jazzy
Uh-huh.
with all those they were making it too jazzy,
Right.
whereas they were looking for to make it what it is, but to keep a groove going,
Right.
because Walter and Donald had a problem with being classified in any genre of music.
Right.
Because they had the budget to do whatever it took to get the right feel, and there were two people who were not able to really. You can only guide somebody so far, you know.
Right.
But the one man that knew who to get was the producer.
Yes.
Had a lot of experience with me and Bernard. That's Gary Katz.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just did a webinar with Gary Katz about leadership, and he's very profound when it comes to who he is, why he is the way that he is, and he's just a normal guy. But he knows that once you find your guys, you stay with your guys.
You're right.
Because your guys know how to get along with each other, even if they don't socially mesh, but musically, the pride of, and of course the talent of musically being together. You know, I really feel this way, and I don't want to sound like I'm going too far with this, but the way I came up in New York playing music was with Paul Griffin, Bernard Purdie, Billy Butler.
Right.
And I'm telling you, Carl Lynch,
Yep.
I'm telling you, you could not find during my lifetime another group of people who, and we were all friends. We didn't hang. Some of us hung together sometimes, but musically, when you had those people in the room, and Paul was older than us, and Paul always had a way of leading without talking sometimes.
You
Sometimes.
just said
I
that's
think of all the days that Bernard and Paul. But the music got done, and it got done quickly, because when it came to the music, we were just all endowed with that. This is right. A lot of the Aretha sections, a lot of sessions, the first take or even the rundown was it.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure you're gonna have some questions later on about it, because I got one in mind that I want to talk about.
Yeah, but go for it, because you guys are, this is unfolding perfectly. We got to talk about Aretha. So yeah, go ahead and tell that story you were about to tell.
Now, Bernard and I went down to Criteria quite a few times. With Etta James, Ellen Toussaint, not Marcy Joseph, but Cheryl Lynn, and of course Aretha. And I'm gonna make this story real short.
No, you don't have to.
It was winter time, and we went down to Criteria, to Miami, and to record with Aretha. Now, top brass, meaning Aretha, Jerry Wester, Tommy Dowd, and whoever their party was, they stayed in another place. They put the band in another place.
Yes.
We got to the studio. Our car picked us up, and we got to the studio. We're happy, number one, because we just left winter New York, and now we're in summer Florida. You know, got to the studio, had a little big old lox and cream cheese and whatever. And Jean Paul and Aretha wasn't there. Aretha was there, but Jerry Wester, Tommy Dowd, and that crew, they weren't there yet. And so our habit was that if Aretha Martin wasn't there, he had to chart the music. He had to, because he was the arranger. And so Gene suggested that we just run it down. And Aretha agreed to teach us the song, Rock Steady. Just teach it to us. Now, she very seldom played on her records, like Marlena Shaw. Great piano players, but they don't play that much on their records. Live maybe. And so she sat down and she taught us Rock Steady, which is a very easy song formatted the way that it is. And one thing about me and Bernard and Cornell, we have worked so many times together that it's almost like we're three peas in a pod, to where we have, and this was in the morning. So after we learned the song, without making a chord chart, Jean Paul set up the dials, and we recorded Rock Steady. Now, we just did it off the top of our heads, and me and Cornell, we've been friends and pals and bandmates for years and whatever. And like we did a little thing, just professionally fooling around, because we knew that when Jerry Wester and Tommy Dowd and Aretha Martin got to the studio, we were going to have to play it over and over and over and over so that our reef could get the chord changes straight. Now, Chris, I tell you, from my memory, the song that you hear, Rocksteady, is the demo that we did before anybody got to the studio.
Thank you.
Wow.
Not not just that too, but the music that she had fell off the piano. And by that time, a reef arrived, and he was inside. He walked in, put the music back on the piano, and we just continued. And when we got to the break, we never stopped. That was the song. That's
Wow.
what everybody has heard all these years. And we
And,
did
and,
how
and
many?
listen,
At least 25 to 50 takes after.
Are you serious?
I would say 50.
Wow.
They tried to make that thing better all day long. Now, we're not complaining because
Right.
we're musicians and we're being fed well, the sun is shining, and we're not in New York.
Yeah.
So, but what people hear, and if you listen to that record, Chris, you
Yeah.
can tell it's a demo. You can tell.
It had that freshness, right?
That Dupree and I had not quite worked out when we did certain kind of things, and the blah, blah, blah. The break was perfect. A
Yes.
lot of drummers, when you go to a break like that, they overplay.
Right.
It's a plain old simple, okay, we're getting ready to go left right here, and we go right there. We didn't have anybody over us, no producer, no arranger.
Right.
Like, great. Another thing Bernard and I did too when the first take that was with Alan Toussaint, and it's called Just a Kiss Away.
Yes.
Yep.
First take, and Alan could not. Number one, he did not want us. I think there's somebody at Arthur, wherever he was with, because he kept talking about another drummer, and he eventually took Cornell off and put some guy in New Orleans on it.
He probably wants some New Orleans guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a kiss away.
Wow.
I'm telling you, first take, because I remember they did that, and we did that in LA. And they tried over and over and over and over and over because, and it was, and the chart was written. It was a chart, no notation, but the chart was written, except for a few ensemble licks that you can hear on the record.
Yeah.
But he was just outdone that he didn't have to work at it. He wanted to work at this song, whereas it ended up being the first take. On the other side of that single was a song called Night People.
Yeah.
Very New Orleans-ish, and
Yeah.
it's simple. But he was bugged because he couldn't get it done better.
Mm.
Right.
Done better.
Wow.
You know, Chris, I have played so much music, classical, orchestral, marching band, church music. There's got to be, there can't be more than three things that I haven't heard. I'm talking about even, especially cowboy music.
Right.
There's got to be at least three forms of, well, there is Indian music and stuff like that. But I've gone through so much music, ensemble playing music and listening to people. Like Aretha knew it. Marlene and Shaw, they know it. That I'm so in love with the song, you know, because it brings back so many. If you don't know what to play, if you don't know what the bass is going to play, I do have an idea. I've been
Yes.
in the barn 1,000 times. That's why I could tell the way that man plays drums. You know, like you can tell he's already been there.
Right.
Nobody knows that a duck is a duck. But any duck. If it looks like a duck and walks like a duck, this is a duck. But like I enjoy, without, I don't want to talk too much, but without Bernard Purdie in my career, and I worked with a lot of great drummers, a lot of great drummers. But I came up in New York playing with Ray Lucas, Bobby Durham, and Bernard Purdie. And Bernard Purdie was the last person I spent a lot of time with. And without him in my career wouldn't be where it is because we played on a lot of successful records. Because
Amen.
all day to do this.
Yes. Literally, yes.
I want to ask you about someone else you two collaborated with, and that's Quincy Jones. You know, one of my desert island recordings is "Walking in Space,"
Mhm.
and the two of you, you know, is you two plus the rhythm section of Ray Brown and Grady Tate on parts of that recording. But say a few words about working with Quincy.
Quincy is the ultimate genius in our business. Very, very smart man. Very
Yeah,
smart. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
very, very smart. And walking in space seems like that was done at Rudy Van Gelder's, I think.
right.
Was Rudy
Uh,
Van Gilders.
and you know, when you John Richardson was a very close friend of mine. He was one
Mm,
of the older guys that took me by the hand and took me down to Jim and Andy's and took me all around. And Jerome was Quincy's contractor. And when they came to New York, the first thing that I saw was, stop me if I'm talking too long. First,
no.
first thing that I realized was that I looked at the band. So I mean from what's the trumpet player? Cat Anderson.
Mm,
Canada.
Um, trombone player, I forget his name right now. I looked at all these people from LA, coming from
That
LA.
was Garnett.
And right. And they were all very, very famous in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave Grusin.
yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and we're there. And Ray Brown, give me a break. What am I going to be doing playing electric bass with Ray Brown, who I knew, although I didn't come up around Ray Brown, I came up around Milt and George,
Right.
uh, but I knew who Ray Brown was.
Yeah.
Now, when you listen to that music, Chris, I swear, I don't. If you're a musician, you got to immediately fall in love with the music when you're 5 minutes into it,
Right.
and when that you're there. And Quincy's thing was Ray would play half a song and I would play the other half. I ended up being in that orchestra for 3 years when I moved to LA, and it was quite a something to experience, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
I was there for a purpose. He was there for a purpose, and
Mm-hmm.
Craig Kate was there to offshoot both of us per se. But the Walking in Space, Walter Matuli, those albums, and hearing an orchestra, and also hearing the bass in its proper space in the recording. That's one of Quincy's main geniuses. The,
Mm.
the bass is not like Jerry Wexler's bass. The bass fit clearly, the bass clearly, within the orchestra, very clean and clear.
Right.
See, never wrote a note for me to play.
Is that right?
I never
Mm-hmm.
wrote a note. As a matter of fact, he's so smart. I will say it this way, which a lot of people should be, and they do. To the piano player and to the bass player, you have your arrangement.
Right.
If you have a bass player where you have not written something specifically for him to play, because he already knows he has to make it sound like is not a free for all.
Right.
Verse means a verse, a chorus is a chorus, and you got to do those kind of things. Very, very smart. Now, a lot of people have kind of, I won't mention any famous names, but have put me down for working with Quincy that way, in that they felt that when I work for them, they write something for me to play. And I said, can you imagine me not wanting to work for Quincy Jones,
Right. Right.
top of the world,
Yeah.
and associated with him? Also, to him trusting me to act like a side man, work for hire.
Right.
I'm
Yes.
not there to boast my name or to play my favorite lick, although I do that a lot, but I never look at it that way, and I can be trusted. I would imagine the same thing for Bernard. Like the music always comes first, especially when everybody around you is famous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Mr. Purdie, was the Walking in Space record the first time you worked with Quincy?
Nope. Nope. That was not the first. I had worked with him with Ashford and Simpson when they were doing background, when they were co-writing other things.
Uh-huh.
But no, it wasn't the first.
Wow.
Just for me, I was just happy. I was happy because it was different. It was different because of all the different people
Right.
that he had on there. And you got to do what you have to do, but that means holding things together.
Yeah.
That's all it comes down to. You got to be able to hold it and do the job. Stop trying to be. I wasn't trying to be anybody but Bernard Purdie.
Right.
Period. When I hear something, I would try. If it didn't quite work at the beginning of something, bam, change it. Get out of it. Now you know that you got to go back and do another take. But when you're happy about what you've done and what you're doing, it's a joy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's all over me. It's all I I love it. I
Yeah.
just love it. I am proud to say that working with all of those different musicians because of my teacher who actually put me in the position that I was in of being able to do any kind of music. Doesn't matter. Because
Right.
I also had to play opera. March music was my whole thing. But march music from New Orleans, because he was from New Orleans. I didn't know that until, I started questioning why certain things were happening all the time. But for me, I was the happiest person in the world because I felt what I was doing was right.
Yeah.
And when I have the bass player that's with me, everything is going to be everything.
Right. 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 Right.
Going to be right. That's why it was easy for me to call him. Easy for me to call Chuck for anything.
Yeah.
It works. And
Yeah.
it always worked. We didn't have to holler across the room and speak about something like I did all the time. But I didn't have to ask him to do something. He
Right.
did it.
Right.
And what he did is lock me in. That's what he did. He said, okay, you got it, Purdy. Go ahead. Let's go with it.
Yeah.
Go. Because he followed me.
Yeah.
You know,
What was in the studio world? I know in the evolution of studio recordings, uh, click tracks started becoming a thing. Was that weird for the two of you having to play? I mean, why would you need a click track when you got Bernard Purdie playing drums? Was that weird when producers started having you play along with a click?
No, a click for me is just another instrument.
Got it. Yeah.
same here.
Plus, I did understand
It is. It's
it is better.
definitely another instrument
Yeah.
altogether. But it took me a while to fight, so I didn't really have to do. I fought in the beginning.
Mm,
I didn't want that because I thought it was going to make me sterile.
right.
Oh, you gotta do this, that, And that wasn't me. My bones, my body, feel everything. And when the bass player and being with Chuck, I never worried about tempo, fighting, for anything.
Yeah.
We could fight like cats and dogs before the date and after the date, but we're on the record. Mm-mm, never,
Right.
never. Unless he insisted on something that he wanted to hear, he'd tell me.
Right.
There's no ifs, ands, about. Yes, sir. That's what come out of my mouth. That's the kind of respect that I have, and I've always had. And he gets it 100% of the time.
Yeah.
That click track, guys, is just like the bass drum in the marching band.
Uh-huh.
Love the drum corps and the marching bands I've been in. Boy, they're hearing that bass drum, the boom, 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 to boom, to boom, boy. If you have more than one bass drum player, boy, oh boy. My son and my granddaughter went to FAMU.
Oh, there you go.
And so, like, when you got 40 tubas and 20 and at least 15 bass drums, you can imagine what those brothers and sisters were doing.
You
And
can
I'm a
feel.
fan to the day of FAMU, Marching 100. That because of that time, that click.
Right.
Boom, 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 boom.
I love it. What about in the '80s? I know when the Lynn drum machine came around, that took even the click track beyond the next level, because now I know a lot of drummers were being replaced by electronic drums. Um, how did you guys feel when that started happening?
It didn't bother me in that it was a consistent beat. I imagine it bothered Bernard, or maybe it didn't.
It did bother me.
I'm sure.
But the problem is that what I had to do and to explain to them, I said, if I got to play with a click, then you're going to have to give me the benefit of the doubt and least let me play with him. Let me play with the click. I'll do it. But I got to do it so I can feel the click where I need to be on top of the click or behind the click or
Ah,
right on. Because a click track to me was another instrument.
right,
Period. So that's how I would lock in. And it worked. And then everybody was happy because I could leave and they could still overdub and fix things and this, that, and the other because the click track was still there.
right.
And I didn't hurt them
Yeah,
because I kept the feel going. I kept the positive attitude going
yeah.
and pulling it together like no tomorrow. When I left, I was happy.
Yeah,
When I left the studio, I wasn't worried about them replacing it
right, right.
because it was there.
Mr. Rainey, when did you leave New York and why?
I left New York because Quincy was doing a tour. I think after the Guadalupe, what's the name of that record?
Oh, Gula Matari.
Guadalupe.
Yeah.
I was working with Roberta Flack. Me and
Hmm.
Eric were in Roberta Flack's band, and he was starting a tour in L.A. In '71 or '72. I can't quite remember the year. And Jerome Richardson was his contractor, and Ray Brown though was his contractor.
Right.
And Ray called me and asked me would I be willing to spend 3 months in L.A. The following year. And I was thinking about, I've been offered a 2-year contract with the radio orchestra in Frankfurt, Germany.
Mm,
It's a very attractive contract. You know, they're going to take good care of me. It was just for 2 years.
right.
And I was thinking about doing it because it was steady money. Not that I was already making good money, but there would be the same thing, you know. And then when Ray called me and asked me to, if I was going to be, and what me capped it off was, it was Quincy Jones and Roberta Flack. So
Right.
a promoter put them together. And so
Right.
I decided to move. That's how I got to LA. And
Got it.
now, Quincy never hires or fires anybody, by the way. There's always someone else. He never gets into that.
Yeah.
But I knew through Jerome Richardson because Jerome Richardson also moved to LA the same time, a little bit before I did. And he was helping Quincy the best way that he could as far as putting musicians together, although probably not necessary because that was Quincy's territory.
Right.
Anyway, that's how I got to LA. And then I went there. Um, I was still able to do a couple of gigs with Aretha and Roberta while I lived there. As a matter of fact, I was with Roberta for a year
Hmm.
after I moved there. But I moved there because of Quincy's upcoming tour with him and Roberta.
Got it.
A lot of the guys that came from the East Coast went back. I stayed. Although I came up in New York musically, I'm from Ohio. I like trees and birds, and that's how I got to LA.
Yeah. I want to bring you guys up to the present and ask you how you both have been doing during this pandemic. You know, no one's been able to play together or make any music together. And how's this been for the both of you?
Well, I've been fine. I have not been doing anything. I play with knowledge every now and then. I don't go out. I don't have to go out. I'm sort of kind of resting on my laurels, if I can put it that way, of such a great career, which I'm so very, very proud of, and being a union man, which has been very, very important.
Yeah.
a lot of young people don't realize how important that has been for me. Um, but in further conversations and webinars, I do talk about it for a while. I'm very comfortable. I don't have the yearn to play as much as I do because there's nothing to play. Even before the pandemic, I was tiring of what uh, what I was being asked to do, work for hire.
Mm.
Which I understand that the nature of my job is work for hire. I accept that because I've been paid well. I've not been paid not so well. I'm not paid not at all, but I've been paid well enough to enjoy. Have made a fairly good living playing the bass, playing, liking the music. So for the last year and a half, I've been very dormant as far as playing. I don't have. I'm not influenced to play with anybody or to be bothered that way. Now it doesn't mean that I'm retired, but it's just to answer your question. I have been sitting back, with the exception of these last 2 weeks, enjoying my grandkids and my wife and the dog. Uh,
Wow.
Bernard, what you been up to?
Huh? Say that again.
What have you been up to for the last year?
Having a great time. He's 100% right in the things that he said. We both have had phenomenal, actually phenomenal careers, and the union was a major, major part of being able to retire
Mm.
almost without going through the changes. But the love of being able to, now I need to play, so my wife makes me play at home. I gotta
Good.
practice. You gotta practice. I said, okay, dear, all right, yes, dear. I learned. Took me 50 years, but I learned how to say yes, dear, and it works. It really works. So with that same attitude that Chuck had just said about uh, the union, gave me gave us a chance to actually, if we had to retire, we could and be comfortable. You know, everything is paid for. I don't look at it in a bad way of anything, but I want to play now, and I am helping out a lot of young people.
Yes, you are.
You know, I just I'm glad to be able to do it. So it's not about worrying about the money, and I'm just glad to be able to do it. So it's good for me.
Speaking of the union, I always have to mention him. When I first moved to New York, I had a chance to know Bob Cranshaw, and
Oh,
the first question he asked me, he said, "Have you joined the union yet?" I said, "No, I haven't." He said, "Well, join the union," and I didn't really know why or why I should, but I figured, well, if Bob Cranshaw is telling me this, I better do it. And
thank you.
I did all that session work in the '90s, and then the VP said to me one day, he said, "Christian, are you vested?" I said, I don't really know." He said, "Come to my office." And so I went to his office, and he punched up my account on his computer, and he turned around the computer. He said, "This is what's in your pension." And I went, "What?"
Yes, yes.
you know,
That's what. Listen, I did as much as I could for so many of the jazz guys.
yeah,
That's who I worked on first because, like Stanley Turntine. I mean, I could give you a list
I
that
bet.
that they were not actually in the union and not getting pension
Not getting paid, right?
and
Pension,
getting
yeah,
paid.
yeah,
But that was my thing.
yeah,
It really was, and I stayed on top of that. I stayed on top of it for more than 20 years.
yeah.
So there's a lot of folks that didn't understand that, and then there was a lot of folks who said, "Oh man, they're not doing anything for me." No, you do something for yourself. Don't worry about doing.
There
Do
you go.
something for yourself.
There you
That's what
go.
needs to be done.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling to be comfortable.
I'll tell you what. Speaking to the two of you has just been so fortifying. I feel like I've been to church. Getting to hang with two of the greatest musicians who ever walked the earth, and one of the strongest, solid, greatest rhythm sections ever, the great Chuck Rainey and the great Bernard Purdie. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and everyone who sees this is going to come away with such great feelings thanks to the two of you. I mean, you do it through your music and you do it through your speaking. So thank you so much for all your greatness.
My pleasure.
My pleasure.
I can't wait to see you two again in person so I could give you each a big bear hug.
Oh yeah.
I love.
Yeah, you two guys are pretty big. I'm not as big as I used to be.
Oh yeah.
Still tall.
Yeah, you still tall. So
Oh no, you.
you carry yours different. I'm much shorter, but the missus, she cut back.
Okay.
Yeah, she really made me cut back. That hurt, man. But now I'm thankful.
Is there no more? You can't eat as much collard greens as you used to, huh?
You're right about that. Now I can eat them, but I. See, I'm already in trouble. She overheard me,
Yeah,
so I'm just happy.
yeah,
When you reach that point in your life where you really are happy about what you're doing and who you're with, it makes a big difference.
yeah,
And
yeah,
this was awesome.
yeah.
I enjoyed this even more than eating this time. Yes, you got me. You got me.
Oh man, that's the
Beautiful.
highest compliment we could ever receive.
Yeah.
Oh man, but Mr. Purdy, thank you so much. Mr. Rainey, thank you so much. We hope all of you have enjoyed this conversation. I'm Christian McBride, and I look forward to seeing all of you again real soon. Thank you to the team at NJ Pack, and we're gonna see you again real soon.
You got it.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
Bernard.